Привет. Hello everyone. I just want to tell you how I did my gold list. When I was studying Russian, I found this method called the gold list method. Okay. And it's a method for learning vocabulary. The thing is, when you study a language, a large portion of the studying is vocabulary. Vocabulary is boring. You don't want to learn it, but you have to. And it's difficult to remember a lot of words. And you can suddenly feel like you want to give up because you always encounter words that you don't understand, even if you understand the grammar. Okay. So, gold list method is a way of learning vocabulary. And you can say in a way that it's super fast, even though it seems very slow. Okay. Let me tell you how it works. It works by putting words into your long-term memory instead of your short-term memory. So you have two kinds of memory in your brain. The short-term memory is for recollecting things that you learned recently. Long-term memory is for remembering things you learned a long time ago. If you are studying for a test, you're often trying to learn just a bunch of words or sentences, and you're repeating, and then you go to the test, and after the test, you forget everything because you never repeat it again. Okay? In reality, what you want to do is you want to learn for life. Okay? So you want to put the words into your long-term memory, and that is done by doing something called spaced repetition. There are different kinds of variations on spaced repetition, but really in the gold list method, you basically just repeat very slowly. Let me tell you what I mean. First, what I did when I studied Russian was I wrote the date, 25th of July 2011. I put down also the words here, word 1 till 25. Okay. I put down the word, медсестра, and the translation, nurse. And because at that time I was also trying to learn Latin, so I wrote it in Latin, but forget about that for now. So, медсестра, nurse, soldat, soldier, advocat, lawyer, окно, window. And you write down the 25 words. Okay. That's it. Now you forget about it, or you can read the list one time and you forget about it. Don't try to remember. Maybe take a short break. As a general rule, you can work for 20 minutes and then you should have a 5-minute break. 20 minutes work and 5 minutes break. Because if your brain gets tired, you can't feel it. The only thing that happens is that it won't learn. So you can keep continuing after 20 minutes and you think it works, but it doesn't. Your brain automatically gets tired and maybe you cannot feel it. So you should work for 20 minutes and have a 5-minute break where you do something completely different. Look out the window, turn on some music, call a friend, whatever. So, 20 minutes, 5 minutes break. And now you can write another list if you want. 25 words. Okay, this list you are making of 25 words is called a head list. You can make as many head lists as you want every day, or as few. 1 per day, that's fine. 10 per day is fine if you have the time, and just make sure 20 minutes work, 5 minutes break. Okay. Now, after you have done this for 2 weeks, you are now writing a head list but you're also going to go back. You go back 2 weeks to the list that you had 2 weeks ago. And you look at the list and you say, okay, medsyestra, can I remember what that meant? Well, it means nurse. Yeah, that was right. Soldat. What does that mean? I can't remember. Oh, it means soldier. Okay. So I got that wrong. So maybe I put a small mark that I didn't remember it. Or maybe I can just see which words I have difficulty remembering. And I write those words again. The words I didn't remember well, I write again. This is called a distillation. And you can see here, I made my head list on the 25th of July, and I made my first distillation the 14th of August. Okay? And the distillation is going to be around 2/3 of the full list, like 66% almost every time. Because when you study the language, some of these words you will encounter in your reading, in your classes, and so on. So some of these words will be repeated in your daily life, and you won't need to repeat them here. And they'll be easy to remember. So the words that are difficult, you will write once more. You can see after now, actually this time, the second distillation here, the shorter list, is made more than 2 weeks after, because there's more than 2 weeks between these two dates. And that doesn't matter, that's fine. Just make sure you don't go shorter than 2 weeks, because you want the words out of your short-term memory. They shouldn't be there. They should only be in your long-term memory. That's why we're waiting so long between each repetition. And you can see here that the list of words that I didn't remember is getting shorter and shorter and shorter every time. And finally, when I have repeated, like you can see the dates here, this is in September, this is in October, and this is actually in March, the year after. So there was a large space here, but that doesn't matter. It's fine. It was completely cleaned out of any short-term memory because there was such a long time between. But I don't really believe that I was. Wow. Okay. Pravda, vod, tam, stakan. Okay. So these words I have repeated so many times that I remember them. And you can see I've made head lists like every day. And the repetitions, they follow. So now I haven't studied Russian for 5 years. I had weekly lessons with my friend on Skype. He was learning Danish, and we had 1 hour of conversation in Danish, 1 hour of conversation in Russian, and we did that every week for a couple of years. And since 2017, December, I think, I haven't had any Russian study lessons. But now I need to be able to speak Russian. So I think what I'm going to do is just read these words, because they should be in my long-term memory. That's why I did this method, the Goldlist method. So when I look at these words, ugroza, I can see threat. It's really, really close. I can't remember almost anything. But it's really, really close that I can remember. It means, for example, just a couple of days ago, I wanted to buy some shoes. And I couldn't remember the word for shoes. And of course, now the word is tuflia. But I couldn't remember. And back then, it was very, very easy for me. But now it is very difficult. But when I hear the word tuflia, I say, oh, of course, I know it. I feel like I know it, but it just didn't come into my brain when I needed it, right? That's because the words are in my passive vocabulary. I need to read the words. I need to study the word, use the words, maybe make some sentences with each word. Then they will be moved into my active vocabulary, and they will be ready when I need them. They will just pop into my mind because I can see spasodny, capable. I know these words, but I cannot take, for example, here, to impose. I don't know this word. I don't know this word. Nalagat. Okay, I know this word. I know it. I feel like I know it. So it feels like the words are right under the skin of my brain, if my brain had any skin, to adopt. Okay, to adopt, what is that? I have no clue. Maybe adoptiravat. Adaptiravat. No? Usinavat. Of course. Okay. Let's see. What do we have here? Nuclear. Okay, I remember nuclear. Ядерный. Ядерный, yes. Horseshoe. What? Okay, Patkova. I didn't know that. Nephew. It's Vnuk. No. Plamiannik. Yes. Hardly. Strutum. Okay, so what I think I'll do, it's gonna be a bit of an experiment. I'm gonna read all these words aloud for myself and their translations, and we'll see what happens. And maybe if I'm lucky, I will be able to speak Russian in a month. So let's see what happens.